My parents transferred my $1 million hotel to my brother while I was standing at the front desk checking in guests. Not after a meeting, not after a warning, not after asking me if I agreed. They signed the papers in the back office, handed my brother the master keys, and then called me into the lobby like I was an employee who needed to be informed of a new manager. My name is Naomi Bennett. I was 34 years old. For 7 years, I had run the Magnolia House Hotel with my own hands, my own sweat, and the kind of tired smile only women in family businesses understand. The hotel sat on the corner of Bellwater Avenue, a cream-colored 3-story building with black shutters, a wraparound porch, and old magnolia trees that dropped white flowers on the walkway every spring. It had 28 rooms, one small restaurant, a garden courtyard, a conference room, a rooftop breakfast terrace, and a history my grandmother Ruth used to say was too stubborn to die. When I first took over operations, the hotel was drowning. Bad reviews, broken air conditioning, late payroll, unpaid vendors, peeling paint, leaking bathrooms, a kitchen manager stealing supplies, staff walking out every month, guests calling it charming only because they were too polite to say old and tired. My father, Leonard Bennett, had inherited the building from his uncle, but he never knew how to run it. My mother, Patricia, loved telling people we owned a hotel, but she hated everything that made the hotel work. Schedules, cleaning lists, vendor calls, guest complaints, tax notices, staff conflicts, broken toilets at midnight. My brother Marcus loved the hotel most of all, not because he worked there. He rarely did. He loved the idea of it, the lobby, the photos, the family name on the brass plaque, the chance to say, "Our hotel," at parties. But when the laundry machines broke, Marcus disappeared. When payroll was short, Marcus was unreachable. When an angry wedding guest threatened to sue because rain leaked through the banquet hall roof, Marcus said, "Sis, you're better at calming people." I was always better at what nobody else wanted to do. That was my curse in the Bennett family. Useful became my middle name. I learned the booking system, renegotiated vendor contracts, worked front desk on holidays, cleaned rooms when staff quit, answered phones at midnight, handled drunk guests, fixed online listings, rebuilt the website, paid for new mattresses from my personal savings, launched weekend brunch, reopened the courtyard, built partnerships with travel agencies, turned the old conference room into a wedding suite, created a loyalty program, and little by little, the Magnolia House came back to life. The reviews improved. Occupancy rose. Weddings returned. Revenue doubled. Then tripled. The same relatives who once whispered that the hotel was a burden began calling it a family jewel. That should have warned me. In my family, the moment something became valuable, someone asked why I was the one holding it. That morning, I was wearing a navy blazer, low heels, and the gold name tag Grace bought me as a joke. Naomi Bennett, General Manager. Grace Monroe was my best friend, my accountant, and the only person who could insult me into wisdom. She told me, "You are not just the general manager, you are the reason the hotel is not a haunted bankruptcy brochure." I laughed when she said it. But she was right. Still, my father kept the official ownership in a family holding company. He promised me that would change once the hotel became stable. "Just help us get through this season," he said. Then another season. Then another. Then another. 7 years. 7 years of soon. That day began like any other. Room 204 needed extra towels. The restaurant was short on eggs. A couple from Atlanta wanted early check-in. A bride's aunt was complaining about flower placement in the courtyard. And Mr. Dennis, our old maintenance man, was trying to fix the elevator while humming gospel songs loud enough to calm the building itself. At 11:30 a.m., my mother came into the lobby wearing a cream dress and too much perfume. That was the first sign. My mother never dressed up to visit the hotel unless she wanted to be seen. Behind her came my father in a dark suit. Behind him came Marcus. And behind Marcus came Tasha, his wife, holding a tablet and looking at the lobby like she was already redesigning it. My stomach tightened. Marcus wore a burgundy blazer, new shoes, and the smile of a man who had arrived at a place he did not build, but planned to claim. I handed a room key to a guest and kept my voice steady. "Good morning." My mother smiled brightly. "Baby, are you busy?" I looked around the lobby. Guests. Staff. Phones ringing. A delivery man waiting with boxes of produce. "Yes." My father cleared his throat. "We need 5 minutes." "About what?" He looked at the guest in front of me, then back at me. "Family business." There it was. Family business. The phrase that usually meant Naomi's labor was about to be renamed someone else's opportunity. I asked Marisol, our assistant manager, to take over the desk. Then I followed them toward the side office. But my father stopped near the lobby seating area instead. He wanted an audience. Not a large one, just enough staff to witness the transfer of power. That was his style. Public enough to pressure me. Private enough to deny later. My mother touched my arm. I stepped back. Her smile flickered. "Naomi, please don't be tense." "I don't know what this is yet." Marcus laughed softly. "You always expect war." I looked at him. "You usually bring gasoline." His smile thinned. My father's voice hardened. "Enough. Naomi, after much discussion, your mother and I have decided to restructure management of the Magnolia House." My chest tightened. "Restructure how?" Tasha looked down at her tablet. Marcus straightened. My father said, "Marcus will be taking over as managing director." For a second, I heard nothing. The lobby continued moving around me. Suitcases rolling. Phone ringing. Coffee cups clinking. A guest laughing near the entrance. But inside me, everything went silent. "Managing director?" I repeated. Marcus smiled. "Don't look so shocked, sis. It's still family." I turned to my father. "What does that mean for me?" My mother spoke quickly. "Baby, you have worked so hard. We all see that. Grace always said compliments before betrayal were emotional anesthesia." My mother continued. "You need rest, and Marcus has fresh ideas." Fresh ideas. Marcus, who once suggested replacing housekeeping staff with guest self-service carts. Marcus, who wanted to paint the historic lobby neon gray because he saw it in a nightclub. Marcus, who had lost 3 businesses and called each failure market education. I said, "The hotel is profitable because of systems I built." My father nodded. "Yes, and those systems are now ready for leadership." I stared at him. "I am leadership." Marcus stepped forward. "Operational leadership, yes, but the hotel needs vision." I laughed once. "Sharp. Vision? You couldn't see the payroll spreadsheet if it was taped to your forehead." My mother gasped. "Naomi." My father's face darkened. "Watch your tone." There it was, the old family bell. Not "watch your son take over what your daughter rebuilt." Watch your tone. I looked at him calmly. "No." He blinked. "No? No. That phrase is finished." Marcus's jaw tightened. Tasha shifted uncomfortably. My father opened the folder in his hand. "Naomi, this has already been signed." The floor seemed to tilt. "What has?" He pulled out a document. "Transfer of managing authority and majority interest in Bennett Hospitality Holdings to Marcus Bennett." My breath stopped. Majority interest. Not a job title. Not a trial period. They had transferred the hotel. My hotel. The hotel I saved. The hotel they promised would become mine. I reached for the paper. My father held it back slightly. "Leonard," my mother whispered. I looked at him. "Give me the document." He handed it over. My eyes moved fast. Bennett Hospitality Holdings. Majority control assigned to Marcus Bennett. Voting authority. Operational decision-making. Revenue distribution. Executive compensation. Consultation role for Naomi Bennett. Consultation. 7 years of work. Reduced to consultation. I looked at Marcus. "How much did you ask for?" His face changed. What? This was not free. What happened? My mother's eyes filled instantly. Naomi, don't start accusing. I'm not accusing. I'm reading the room. Marcus scoffed. You always think the worst of me. Because you keep submitting evidence. My father snapped. Marcus has investors interested in expanding the brand. Investors? Yes. I looked at Tasha. She would not meet my eyes. What investors? Marcus smiled too quickly. A boutique hospitality group. They want to modernize, franchise, maybe sell a minority stake. My stomach turned. Sell. There it was. The fresh idea. Not improve. Not preserve. Sell. I looked at my father. You transferred the hotel to Marcus so he can sell pieces of it. My father said no one said sell. The document says revenue restructuring, outside capital, and expansion authority. Marcus said, you're being dramatic. This is growth. No, Marcus. This is you trying to cash out something you did not build. His face hardened. You didn't build it either. It was family property. I stared at him. I thought about sleeping in the laundry room during storm weekends because the roof leaked and guests needed help. I thought about paying linen vendors with my personal credit card. I thought about learning hospitality software at 2 a.m. I thought about crying in the back office after my first bad review response because I felt like I had failed the whole building. I thought about every staff member who stayed because I promised them the hotel would survive. Family property. The words tasted like theft. My mother touched my arm again. Baby, Marcus has children. He needs something stable. You are strong. You can start something else. I pulled my arm away. The sentence had arrived. You are strong. The family's favorite excuse for taking from me. I looked around the lobby. Marisol was watching from behind the front desk. Mr. Dennis stood near the elevator with a wrench in his hand. 2 housekeepers stood near the hallway, holding folded sheets. They all looked scared. Not for Marcus. For the hotel. For me. For themselves. My father said, you will remain here during transition. Marcus wants you to train him. I looked at Marcus. He smiled slightly. That smile did it. Not the document, not my mother's tears, not my father's betrayal. That smile. The smile of a man standing on a bridge I built, asking me to teach him how to charge toll. I removed my name tag. Slowly. My mother frowned. Naomi? I reached into my blazer pocket and took out my ring of hotel keys. Front office. Supply room. Laundry. Courtyard gate. Kitchen back door. Storage. Rooftop. Master emergency key. Keys I had carried for 7 years like a second heartbeat. I placed them on the reception counter. One by one. Metal against marble. Click. 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 The lobby went silent. My father's eyes widened. What are you doing? I looked at him. Turning in my keys. Marcus laughed nervously. Come on, Naomi. Don't be childish. I removed the office key last and placed it on top. Then I looked at Marcus. You want the hotel? Run it. My mother's face changed. Baby, no. We didn't say leave. You transferred majority control to him. Yes, but you know how everything works. Exactly. My father stepped closer. Naomi, don't make a rash decision. I looked at him. You made the rash decision. I'm making the clean one. Marcus said, you'll be back by Monday. I smiled sadly. That old confidence. He truly believed my love for the hotel would make me serve under him. He believed I would stay to save what they had taken. He believed I would not let the building suffer, even if he sat in the chair. And that was the problem. My family had always counted on my responsibility to cover their entitlement. Not this time. I picked up my purse. Marisol whispered, Naomi. I turned to her. My throat tightened. I'm sorry. She looked like she might cry. Mr. Dennis set his wrench down. Miss Naomi, you sure? No, I was not sure. I was heartbroken. But heartbreak is not always a sign to stay. Sometimes it is the body mourning the cage before freedom begins. I nodded. Yes. My father's voice rose. Naomi Bennett, if you walk out, do not expect to come back when this fails. I turned at the lobby doors. That is the first honest thing you've said today. Then I walked out of the Magnolia House Hotel with no keys, no title, no office, no goodbye speech, and no idea that losing that building would become the beginning of an empire. Before I continue, tell me where you are watching from tonight. And if your family has ever taken what you built and told you to stay around to keep it from falling apart, stay with this story. Because they thought I was walking out with nothing. They did not know I was taking the one thing Marcus could never inherit, everything I knew. I cried in my car for 20 minutes. Not movie tears. Not graceful tears. The kind of crying that makes your chest hurt and your face look strange in the rearview mirror. The hotel stood in front of me through the windshield. Guests walked in and out. The magnolia trees moved gently in the wind. The building looked the same. That felt unfair. How could something look so normal after betrayal? Grace called. I had texted only 2 words. They did it. She did not ask what. She already knew enough about my family to fear every short message. When I answered, she said, "Where are you?" "Parking lot." "Did you sign anything?" "No." "Good." "Did you hit anybody?" "No." Less satisfying but legally cleaner. I laughed through tears, then cried harder. They gave it to Marcus. I know, baby. They want me to train him. Grace went quiet. Then she said, "Of course they do. Thieves hate instruction manuals until they steal the machine." I turned in the keys. Silence. "Naomi." I walked out. Grace exhaled slowly. Good. It doesn't feel good. Freedom rarely feels good in the doorway. It feels like loss because the cage had your furniture in it. That was Grace. Sharp enough to hurt. True enough to heal. I drove to her office because I could not go home yet. Grace met me in the elevator lobby and held me before saying anything else. That mattered. Some moments require arms before advice. Inside her office, she gave me water, tissues, and then a legal pad. I stared at it. What is that? A grief plan. A what? You're going to cry? Then we're going to list everything you know about running a hotel that Marcus does not. I almost smiled. Grace, no. They took the building, they did not take your brain. Right. So we wrote. Vendor pricing, staff training, booking channel strategy, guest recovery systems, housekeeping turnover formulas, kitchen inventory control, wedding package margins, local tourism partnerships, maintenance cycles, revenue management, review response templates, upsell systems, vendor red flags, staff retention methods, event contract clauses, seasonal demand data, cash flow patterns, brand identity, customer experience, crisis management. The list ran for 14 pages. By page 6, I stopped crying. By page 10, I started breathing differently. By page 14, Grace leaned back and said, "They inherited walls. You walked out with operations." That became the seed. But first came the collapse. Not mine. Theirs. The first week, Marcus strutted through the Magnolia House like a man walking into applause only he could hear. He changed his title immediately. Managing Director. He moved into my old office before the chair was even cold. He told staff, "We are entering a new era." Mr. Dennis later said, "The staff exchanged looks because every bad manager begins with an era." Marcus fired the restaurant manager because she questioned his plan to replace weekend brunch with luxury nightlife small plates. He canceled 2 long-term vendor contracts because he said they were old-fashioned. He ignored Marisol's warning about group bookings. He changed room prices without understanding demand windows. He offered discounts to influencers who did not pay deposits. He promised a wedding party rooftop fireworks, which violated city code. He announced a lobby renovation with no budget. He replaced the hotel's warm cream branding with black and gold mock-ups that made the building look like a nightclub pretending to read poetry. By week 2, staff began calling me privately. I did not answer at first. Not because I did not care, because I knew if I stepped back in too early, my family would call it proof that I could not leave. Then Marisol left a voicemail. "Naomi, I know you said goodbye, but I need you to know payroll is wrong. Housekeeping hours are missing. Marcus says it's fine. It is not fine." I sat with that for an hour. Then I called Vivian Hart. Vivian had been my lawyer since my divorce and believed emotions should travel with documents. She reviewed the ownership structure again. The transfer was legal because my father controlled the family holding company. Painful, yes. Unfair, yes. But not illegal. However, my personal assets, intellectual property, systems, vendor templates, training materials, and consulting methods were mine, unless formally assigned. They had transferred the hotel, not the operating brain behind it. Vivian said, "Naomi, do you have copies of your systems?" "Of course." "Good. Secure them. Revoke access to anything under your personal accounts. Send notice that your proprietary materials cannot be used outside authorized employment." "They'll say I'm being petty." Vivian sounded almost amused. People often call ownership petty after taking something. I secured everything. Website admin access transferred to corporate accounts only where necessary. Personal templates removed. Vendor spreadsheets copied and withdrawn from my personal drive. Training documents protected. Brand photography licensed to me, not the holding company, because I had paid for it. The loyalty program structure was mine, through a separate consulting entity Grace had wisely created years earlier. I had not understood why then. Grace had said, "Because your family is one emergency away from discovering theft." She was right again. Marcus called 2 days later. I let it ring. Then he texted, "Need the vendor login for linen company." I did not respond. Then, "Naomi, stop being childish. Staff needs it." Then, "If the hotel suffers, that's on you." There it was. They took the hotel, but the suffering would be mine. I replied once. "Contact the vendor directly. You are managing director." He called again. I did not answer. By month 2, reviews began slipping. Guests complained about slow check-in. Breakfast quality dropped. 2 weddings canceled. A corporate group moved to another hotel after Marcus failed to confirm room blocks. The night audit was mishandled. A plumbing issue damaged 3 rooms because maintenance was delayed while Marcus negotiated with a cheaper contractor. My mother called me crying. I let it go to voicemail. "Baby, the hotel is struggling. Your brother is under pressure. Please come show him a few things. Just for a week. Not for us. For the family legacy." Family legacy. They loved that phrase when they needed my labor. I saved the voicemail. Not to use against her. To remind myself. Grace listened and said, "Legacy is what they call your unpaid job after they remove your title." I did not go back. Instead, I started something new. At first, it was only consulting. Small hotels, family inns, boutique guest houses, struggling properties like Magnolia used to be. I named the company Ruth and Rose Hospitality. Ruth for my grandmother. Rose for every room I had lost and every room I planned to build. Grace helped create the financial structure. Vivian protected the intellectual property. Marisol became my first employee. Yes, she left the Magnolia house after Marcus blamed her for a booking disaster he created. She called me and said, "If you are building anything, I want in." I said, "I can't pay Magnolia salary yet." She replied, "You paid me with respect for 7 years. I can survive a starting phase." I hired her. Then Mr. Dennis joined as facilities consultant after Marcus replaced him with a cheaper handyman who flooded the laundry room. Then the old restaurant manager joined. Then 2 housekeepers. Then a wedding coordinator. My family called it betrayal. I called it people choosing oxygen. Our first client was a dying lakeside inn, with 12 rooms and a restaurant nobody visited. The owner, An older widow named Mrs. Alvarez had been ready to sell. We rebuilt her booking system, changed her pricing, trained staff, improved breakfast, fixed room photos, created weekend packages, partnered with local tour guides. Within 6 months, revenue doubled. She cried when she handed me the bonus check. "I thought the inn was finished," she said. I smiled. Buildings are rarely finished. People just stop knowing how to listen to them. That sentence became part of our brand. Ruth and Rose grew fast. Not viral fast. Solid fast. The kind of growth that comes when people solve real problems and answer phones. 1 inn became 3. 3 became 7. Then a regional hospitality group hired us to rebuild 5 boutique properties. I worked harder than ever, but differently. This work fed me, because no one called my labor family duty. They signed contracts, paid invoices, respected expertise. At night, I missed Magnolia. That is the truth. I missed the old front desk bell, the smell of breakfast coffee, the magnolia petals on the porch, the staff jokes, the way the building creaked before rain. I missed what I had built there. But missing something does not always mean returning is right. Sometimes grief is proof that what you lost mattered, not proof that you should keep bleeding for it. By the end of the first year, Ruth and Rose Hospitality was profitable. By the second, we had 36 employees. By the third, we were managing hotel turnarounds across 3 states. By the fourth, we began acquiring failing boutique hotels instead of only consulting. I stood in the lobby of our first purchased property, a faded seaside hotel with cracked tiles and good bones, and cried. Grace stood beside me. "You okay?" "No." "Good no or bad no?" "Empire no." She nodded. "Understandable." We restored the hotel and renamed it the Ruth House Seaside. It became our flagship. Then came the Rosegate Inn. Then Magnolia Court. No, not the Magnolia House. A different building. A better one. I used the word Magnolia again because I refused to let Marcus own the flower. Meanwhile, the Magnolia House collapsed slowly. Marcus's investors disappeared when numbers weakened. The black and gold renovation stopped halfway through because cash ran out. Vendors demanded payment up front. Staff turnover became a revolving door. My father had to inject personal money. My mother stopped posting hotel photos. Tasha left Marcus during the 3rd year after discovering he had used their savings to cover hotel losses and lied about it. The irony was painful. They gave him the hotel to provide stability. He turned it into another hole. Eventually, my father called. Not my mother. My father. His voice sounded older. "Naomi, we need to talk." I was in the lobby of the Ruth House Seaside, watching staff prepare for a wedding. About what? The Magnolia House. My chest tightened. What about it? "It is in trouble." "I know." He inhaled. "You know?" "Yes." "How?" "Dad, hospitality is my industry. Struggling hotels are not invisible." Silence. Then he said, "Marcus is overwhelmed." I almost laughed. There it was, years later, still. Marcus is overwhelmed. I said nothing. My father continued, "We may lose it." "I'm sorry to hear that." "Are you?" I closed my eyes. Yes, I loved that building. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Would you consider coming back?" The lobby around me seemed to fade. A bride laughed near the garden doors. A server walked past with flowers. The ocean wind pressed gently against the windows. Coming back. The phrase carried 7 years of work and 1 day of betrayal. "In what role?" I asked. He hesitated. That hesitation told me enough. "Naomi, let us not start with titles." I smiled sadly. "Then we are finished." "Wait." "No, Dad. You called because the building is bleeding again. You did not call with ownership terms, apology, documents, or respect. You called with the old expectation that I would rush in because Marcus is overwhelmed." He sighed. "It is still family." "No, it is still a business you transferred away from the person who knew how to run it." His voice softened. I made a mistake. The words landed. Too late to fix what happened, but not meaningless. For what specifically? I asked. He was quiet. Then he answered. For transferring the hotel to Marcus after you saved it. For believing his need for status mattered more than your years of work. For asking you to train him after taking your authority. For thinking you would keep protecting the hotel even after we removed you. My throat tightened. That was the most honest thing he had ever said. I said, "Thank you for naming it. Will you help?" "No." His breath caught. "Naomi, I will not return as the daughter who saves what the family hands to Marcus. What if we sell it to you?" That stopped me. "Say that again." "If we sell the Magnolia house to Ruth and Rose, properly." My hand tightened around the phone. "Does Marcus agree?" A pause. "He may not have a choice." That answer was not enough. "Send documents to Vivian. No family meeting, no dinner, no crying, no speeches. If this is business, treat it like business." He agreed. When the documents arrived, the numbers were ugly. Debt, deferred maintenance, vendor issues, tax concerns. Reputation damage. The building was worth far less than it had been when they transferred it to Marcus. Grace reviewed the financials and leaned back. They turned a $1 million asset into a cautionary tale. Vivian said, "Acquisition is possible, but only if we buy clean. No assumed hidden liabilities without reduction. No family sentimental pricing." My mother called before negotiations began. I almost did not answer. Then I did. "Baby," she said softly. I waited. "I'm not calling to pressure you." "Good. I am calling to apologize." I sat down. "For what specifically?" She cried, but quietly. "For standing in that lobby and smiling while your father gave Marcus what you had rebuilt. For saying you were strong enough to start again. For using your strength as permission to take from you. For calling it family when it was unfair." My eyes burned. She continued. "And for thinking the hotel needed a son to look important when it already had a daughter keeping it alive." That sentence reached a place in me I thought had gone numb. I whispered, "Thank you. I am ashamed, Naomi." "You should be." "I know." That was new. No defense. No collapse. No demand that I comfort her. Negotiations took 3 months. Marcus fought until the end. He wanted a payout bigger than the hotel deserved. Grace refused. He wanted a leadership role after sale. Vivian almost laughed. I refused. He wanted his name preserved on future branding. I said no so quickly, Grace smiled. Finally, the deal closed. Ruth and Rose Hospitality acquired the Magnolia House at a reduced valuation, with debt settlement, vendor protections, staff transition, and full operational control. For the first time, the hotel was mine. Not emotionally, legally. When I walked back into the lobby as owner, not manager, the building smelled like dust, old wood, and memory. Marisol stood beside me. Mr. Dennis, too. Grace held the new key ring. Vivian held the signed documents. My parents were not there. Marcus was not there. That was the condition. Grace placed the keys in my hand. Try not to turn into a hotel ghost. I laughed through tears. Then I walked to the front desk. The old counter had scratches. The brass bell was still there. I touched it. 7 years of my life lived under someone else's authority. Gone. Returned. Changed. I rang the bell once. The sound moved through the lobby like a small blessing. We did not restore the Magnolia House to what it had been. We restored it to what it should have become. Warm. Elegant. Disciplined. Staff-centered. Guest-focused. Historically respectful. No black and gold nightclub nonsense. We rehired former staff when possible. Paid vendors properly. Rebuilt systems. Reopened the courtyard. Fixed the rooftop terrace. Turned the conference room into the Grandma Ruth Leadership Room. Not because she owned the hotel, because she taught me how to own myself. On the wall, I placed her words. Do not hand your keys to people who only love doors after you unlock them. Opening night was quiet. No big party. No balloons. No family speeches. Just staff, a few loyal guests, local partners, and the people who had helped rebuild. My parents came later, months after reopening. They asked permission. That mattered. My father stood in the lobby, looking at the restored staircase. You did what I should have trusted you to do. Yes, I am sorry. I know. He looked at me. I mean it. I know. My mother touched the front desk gently. It feels like you again. I smiled. No, it feels like mine for the first time. Marcus came 1 year later. He did not come through the front door like a prince. He came for a meeting after requesting one through my assistant. That alone showed life had humbled him. He sat across from me in the office that used to be mine, and then not mine, and now truly mine. He looked older. No burgundy blazer. No big smile. Just a man carrying the weight of his own reflection. I am sorry, he said. For what specifically? He nodded like he expected the question. For taking the hotel. For letting Mom and Dad believe I could run what you built. For asking you to train me after stealing your place. For changing things I did not understand. For blaming staff. For ruining what you saved. I sat still. He continued. I hated that you were better at it. There it was. The root. I know. I wanted the title. You had the respect. I thought if Dad gave me control, respect would come with it. And did it? He laughed sadly. No. Responsibility came. I wasn't ready. I looked at him. Why are you here? To say that, and to ask if there is any work I can do. Not leadership, not management, work. That surprised me. Grace later said it was either maturity or a long con. Vivian said both required paperwork. I did not hire him at the Magnolia House. Too much history. But I connected him with a hospitality training program under another manager who owed him nothing and would tolerate no nonsense. Marcus started at the bottom. Inventory, night audit support, maintenance coordination. He hated it. Then learned, then improved. Sometimes accountability does not look like punishment. It looks like starting where you should have started before demanding the top floor. Ruth and Rose grew into an empire slowly enough to stay honest and fast enough to scare competitors. We owned hotels, managed hotels, trained hotel teams, built technology for small inns, created a fund for women and family businesses whose labor had been hidden behind male ownership. That fund became the Keyholder program. It helped women document contributions, secure equity, protect intellectual property, negotiate roles, and avoid being used as unpaid rescue labor. Our first workshop filled in 2 days. Women came from bakeries, farms, clinics, restaurants, rental houses, family stores, salons, funeral homes, and hotels. Different businesses. Same wound. My brother got the title after I ran the shop. My father says daughters help, sons inherit. My husband owns the company, but I built the client list. My family says ownership talk is disrespectful. I saved the business, and now they want me to train my cousin. I stood before them and held up my old hotel name tag. Naomi Bennett, General Manager. Then I held up the new one. Naomi Bennett, Owner. The room went silent. I said, do not wait 7 years for people who benefit from your labor to remember your equity. Write it down. Get the shares. Protect the systems. Keep copies. And if they take the keys, understand this. Keys open doors, but knowledge builds buildings. Women cried. So did I. The Magnolia House became the heart of the empire. Not the biggest hotel, not the most profitable, the heart, because it taught me the difference between working in something and owning my place in it. On the 10th anniversary of Ruth and Rose, we held a dinner in the courtyard. My staff was there. Grace, Vivian, Marisol, Mr. Dennis, hotel owners we had helped. women from the keyholder program. My parents came. Marcus came too, quietly, sitting near the back with Tasha, who had rebuilt her own life and co-parented with cautious peace. During my speech, I told the truth, not to humiliate, to honor the road. Years ago, I said, I turned in the keys to this hotel because my family gave control to my brother after I rebuilt it. I thought I was walking out of my life's work. I was actually walking out with the knowledge to build more than one building could hold. My father looked down. My mother cried quietly. Marcus did not run from the words. Good, I continued. The lesson is not that you should abandon everything when people betray you. The lesson is that your value is not locked inside what they take. Sometimes they take the building and discover you were the foundation. The room stood. Applause rose into the warm night. Magnolia flowers scented the air. For a moment, I felt Grandma Ruth beside me. Not as a ghost, as a standard, a voice, a key. After dinner, my father approached me. He held something in his hand, my old gold name tag, the one I removed in the lobby years earlier. I stared at it. Where did you get that? I kept it, he said. Why? His eyes filled. At first, because I was too proud to throw away evidence. Later, because I was too ashamed to look at it. Now, because I think it belongs in the hotel. I took it. The metal was scratched. My old title still there. General Manager. I walked inside and placed it in a shadow box near the front desk. Under it, Grace insisted we add a plaque. The keys she turned in became doors everywhere else. I told her it was too dramatic. She said, "So was your family's succession plan." She won. My parents transferred my $1 million hotel to my brother. So I turned in my keys, walked out, and built an empire. People love the dramatic part. The lobby. The keys hitting the counter. The brother smiling. The mother crying. The father holding papers. The staff watching. The daughter walking out. The hotel failing. The empire rising. The family asking her to come back. I understand. It is dramatic. But the real story is about invisible labor becoming visible too late for the people who ignored it. It is about the daughter who runs the business, but does not own it. The sister who saves the family asset, but gets called emotional when she asks for shares. The woman who builds systems while a man waits for the title. The employee in her own inheritance. The key holder with no deed. If that is you, listen carefully. Do not let love replace paperwork. Do not let promises replace equity. Do not let soon become 7 years. Do not let family pride eat your labor and call you selfish for asking who owns the table. Ask early. What is my title? What are my shares? What happens if leadership changes? Who owns the systems I create? What am I being paid? What authority do I actually have? What happens if I leave? If the answer is anger, pay attention. If they say, "Why don't you trust us?" Ask why trust requires you to stay unprotected. If they say, "We are family," ask why family needs your silence more than your security. And if they take the keys from your hand, grieve, cry, sit in the car. Call Grace. Call Vivian. Write down everything you know. Then remember, they can take a building. They can take a title. They can take an office. They can take the plaque off the wall. But if you built the system, served the guests, trained the staff, solved the problems, and learned the business from the floor up, you are not empty-handed. You are carrying the blueprint. Today, the Magnolia House still stands on Bellwater Avenue. The porch is freshly painted. The magnolia trees bloom every spring. Guests take photos near the staircase. Couples marry in the courtyard. Staff stay because they are respected. And near the front desk, in a glass case, rests my old ring of keys. The same keys I turned in when they thought they had taken everything. Under them, a small brass plaque reads, "Returned by Naomi Bennett. Reclaimed by Naomi Bennett. Multiplied by Naomi Bennett." My name is Naomi Bennett. They gave my hotel to my brother. I walked out with no keys. Then I built Ruth and Rose Hospitality into an empire. And I learned that sometimes losing the door is how you discover you were never meant to own just one room.